Welcome to Films Apart, the podcast where we poke fun at buried flops, unearth hidden gems, and explore timeless classics.
So grab yourself some popcorn, sit back, and let's break these films apart.
Hi everyone, sorry about the hiatus. Myself and Lewis have been tackling deadline season at university. We have just completed 2 films together, which was an interesting journey. Have you got anything to say about that, Lewis?
It was an interesting journey.
It was. Difficult, stressful, a lot of work, but I think we've got 2 films to be proud of.
Yeah, but it's good to be back doing the podcast.
Yeah, it feels good to be back. I've been listening to some of the old ones again to get back into it, and yeah.
Tiptoes, here we go.
Tiptoes, here we go. So thank you for being patient. Hopefully we can share our films with you soon. But at the minute we can't make them public because we're hoping to enter them into some festivals.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, should be an interesting journey. Thanks, guys. Welcome to today's episode, The Artist.
Yeah, the 2011 Oscar winner.
Oscar winner? Which Oscar did it win?
It won Best Picture.
Did it?
And Best Director. Got nominated for writing. Directed by Michel Hazanavicius.
Okay.
Don't know if I pronounced that right, but that's
the name.
French director, I believe.
I was about to say I didn't realise it was directed by a woman, but it's not. It's just the French way of spelling Michelle. No.
Well, I've been meaning to watch this for a long time now, and it's eluded me for years, and it's got to the point where my wife was saying that it's going to be off Amazon soon, so you should watch it. So that's why we're watching it.
That's why we watched it for the podcast.
The pressure of Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
So, do you want me to give a quick synopsis?
Yeah, if you go for the synopsis.
For a change. It is a riches to rags story of a silent movie star at the birth of the talkies in 1927. He bumps into a wannabe star who inadvertently gets into a photograph with him in the newspapers, and this initiates her career. Sparks fly between the two of them, but he's married, and as she rises in the ranks of the talkies pictures, he sinks out of his career to the point of suicide, but she keeps an eye on his decline and tries to save him.
Yeah, I think she always looks up to him, doesn't she, as somebody that she wants to be like in the movies. I mean, and also she fancies him.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a love story, although not overly a massive part of it, is it? I think it's more about the concept than it is about the story.
Yeah,
I guess.
I think it's more an homage to silent movies.
It's an homage to silent movies and also Singing in the Rain. It reminded me of Singing in the Rain because it's about the same era. It's about that transition from silent films to talkies and the difficulties of film stars of that era in transitioning. Many went by the wayside because of it. Also, the guy who played the main character, he won an Oscar for Best Actor as well. Jean Dujardin. He looked like Gene Kelly. He looked like Don Lockwood in Singing in the Rain.
I thought he looked like Walt Disney with that little pencil moustache.
Yeah, with that.
Like that's sort of the man of that era. But I think it was very similar to Singing in the Rain. I think one of the criticisms I had for it, I think you agreed, was it's doing a lot of what Singing in the Rain does, but
without the singing.
Without the singing and less effectively, and also it's like decades after.
I guess it's trying to do a bit of a different thing in the sense that it is a silent film about silent film. So it's kind of clever in a way, but not as clever as I thought it was going to be. It starts off silent film. You're going through it. You're seeing you're seeing things in the way you see silent films. You're seeing the envy and jealousies and things like this in characters, and you get the little subtitles of odd bits of dialogue. And then at a certain point, as they're transitioning to talkies, and one of the producers is telling this main actor that we're about to go to talkies and we're done for.
We're part of a dying era.
We're part of a dying era. He walks into his changing room and then he kind of puts a glass down and you hear like the sound of a glass.
Yeah.
And then you hear just sounds, not voices. You hear a dog bark.
Yeah.
all of these things that you'd not heard before and weren't aware of until that point.
Yeah.
And it felt really clever. And we both thought that was the way the film was going to go, and that it was going to kind of slowly introduce talking to the film.
Yes.
But actually, it was a dream.
Yeah.
And it was a bit disappointing.
Yeah. I didn't know anything about the film before I went into it. I knew it was about silent films, but I didn't know it was a silent film. So the opening it's like the opening scene of a silent film of his where he's escaping from, it's like a Hammer horror James Bondy thing, isn't it? He's escaping from like a castle of mad scientists, and I thought that was really cool. I liked that. He's got his dog that is his sidekick in like all the movies, little Jack Russell. But then it zooms out and it's the cinema's like audience reaction, all clapping, and then it's like you say, it's a silent film, and it wasn't until a few scenes in that I was like, oh, okay, it's coming into the full silent film bit. I thought it was just RB for the opening. Yeah. And then that scene happens with the glass, and you think, now it's going to transform into a talkie and show the evolution of film through this changeover of eras, the changeover of talents, by becoming the films that they've evolved into being. And it doesn't, it cops out of it by having it as a dream sequence, and it sort of pissed me off. I thought it was effective.
I think we both thought it was going to go a different way. I still thought it was very good. That bit was very interesting. Do you know what it reminded me of? Have you seen that? Like, it's like a TikTok video or a reel or something about Star Wars, when they get in the medals at the end and they take the John Williams music out of it. Yeah. And you just hear the sound of them walking down, and you can hear Chewbacca go, you know, and you can just hear like the medal being clanking, put on, and people clapping. And there's like a little laugh from like Luke and a little laugh from Leo, and it's just really awkward. Yeah. Like, it reminded me of that sound. It was so it was interesting because it makes you think about the importance of sound in films. And the intricacies of that. Yeah. And it made me think about the ways in which that sound was first introduced, and the way that it's synced up, and how that would have been like a hell of a journey to go through, wouldn't it, to get that right. And
you have as well the bit where he reacts to the first talkie. He's brought in with like a load of producers and directors, I assume, and he's watching it, and he's just laughing at it. He's like, this isn't the future. You can see the microphones like in shot on things right in front of the actresses singing. And it's just a man that's stuck in his ways, really, isn't it? He doesn't want to change for the time.
And that's exactly the same as Singing in the Rain.
Yeah.
You know, he does exactly the same. He doesn't. He thinks it's nonsense. Nothing's going to come of it. And then you've got the whole start of it where they're getting this. It's sinking, and it's sinking wrong. And it shows all of that stuff in that, doesn't it? All of the things that this was about.
Yeah.
It even had the prima donna in Singing in the Rain, and the prima donna in this. At the beginning, it was so like Singing in the Rain that I was like, what is going on here? You know, when he comes on with the dog and he's getting all this applause, and she doesn't come on straight away, and she's really annoyed about it, and she looks like, you know, the woman in Singing in the Rain.
And then she's the one who goes on to be like a big star in talkies. She's in the first talkie that he watches. It's the same actress, the one that's getting angry that he's introduced her. Yeah. He introduces his dog first at the screening of this film.
And has the last word as well. She goes off, he comes back on and gets the applause. So that's different from Singing in the Rain, because in Singing in the Rain, she can't stand it. She's just got that voice.
But I think I struggled with about a third into the movie. I was like, okay, it's not changing. It's committing to the silent film for the whole thing.
No one's been shot. There's been no
murder,
maimings.
no massacres. Yeah. I've not seen like a Jason Voorhees or Freddy Krueger yet. I don't know what's happening. Where's the killing? There's no art here.
This is why we watched Evil Dead as well, wasn't it? Yeah. We chose to watch Evil Dead.
So, I struggled with it. It just felt like it became a gimmick, especially when it teased at breaking out of it and then didn't. The moments that were strongest were the psychological parts like that, and of him. I think there's a moment where he's looking at, after he's gone from rags to riches to rags, he's looking in a shop window at like an old tux that he used to wear when he played this sort of magician, James Bondy character, and like a security guard comes over to him and is like talking, and he can't lip read. because it's too long of a sentence, and he's like, there's no dialogue screen popping up so that you can read what he's saying, and he gets flustered and runs away. It's like, that was quite cool. I liked that with how the rest of the world's moving on and now talking, and he's still silent, stuck in his ways.
Yeah, there was definitely some really nice moments in it and hints about the world. I thought one of the nice moments was when the girl who he bumps into, who becomes a big star in the talkies, Peppy Miller, she is in his room and she tries on his jacket, and she kind of puts her arm through the one, and it's like she's being held by him for his jacket. And I thought it made me think about the illusions that we have in film. You know, that's what film is, isn't it? It's all a series of illusions. That was quite a nice thing to see. I thought about when the first time I think we heard words in it was when there was a song, Pennies from Heaven. And I thought, again, is this suggesting something? Are we hearing... I think that was the first time we heard words. Yeah. And that was about halfway through. But then after that, there was no more words and there was no more songs until the very end, when he gets back on track and ends up being in a musical. Yeah. And the director says, can you do it again? And then he goes, with pleasure. Yeah. And then you're like, oh, he's French.
You don't realise it's a French film until then.
And part of me was thinking, is that what they were saying? Is that he couldn't make it in the films because he was French? It's like,
oh, that's why he refuses to talk. Yeah. Maybe.
I don't know. I don't want. I feel like I went into it with too high expectations. It wasn't as clever as I thought it was going to be.
No, I think about halfway through, for me, it really started to drag and become a bit of a bore. It was just rerunning ground that Singing in the Rain had done.
I wish,
in a slightly more artistic way, which I don't buy into. There were some cool moments actually where he's not paid his like butler in a year, and he fires him because he's like, you need to go and actually get a job, like you're fired, and he goes and gets drunk in a bar, and there's little versions of himself of this film that he's tried budgeting for himself, made himself, and it's just a failure, it's a flop, running him into bankruptcy. And it's like a Gulliver's Travels moment where there's like these little Amazon tribes throwing like spears at him and stuff, and he's trying to swat them away, and it's like stuff like that where it's the psychology of it and toying with what's in his head and were the strengths,
and showing the ways in which you can manipulate film to have like, you know, special effects and stuff like that as well, in a kind of meta sense.
Definitely. I think they were the bits that worked for me. The bits that weren't were how it committed very much to the structures and flow of short films, even though audiences are much more, we don't need to see everything now. Like there was bits where we were seeing him travel to and from home from work and things, and it's like, as an audience in the 20s, that was a lot more commonplace, but now we don't need that stuff. We're attuned to being able to, like, I feel like we've got the critical thinking abilities to know what's happened there if it cuts away.
Yeah, I wonder how much stuff was left in purposefully because of that. Because, for example, there's not a single zoom shot in the movie. And the reason they did that is because that technology didn't exist. The film was shot at 22 FPS and played at 24 FPS, so it was slightly kind of faster, which is that silent film feel, isn't it? Where everything's just only ever so slightly, but it is like so it looks like there's more movements, which is very silent film. I thought, to begin with, it was interesting when you saw the relationship with him and his wife was really envious of the woman on the picture. And I thought those are the sorts of big emotions that you can see in silent films quite easily. Envy, jealousy, anger, you know, all of that sort of stuff. And I thought it was going to kind of either stay around that idea, but it kind of it didn't really stay overtly around that idea, and it didn't also go the other way, which is similar to what you're saying, which is where it could be more complex. Show us less, but also because you don't need as much. You know, you the power of a close up. Okay, there's no close ups, but you know, the cameras were close. The power of a face on the screen can show a hell of a lot. You know, you can see more than just jealousy, envy, happiness, anger. You can see complex emotions. And I suppose there was the pride element to him, but then it spelt that out really.
It's very obvious from the start.
Even his old driver is saying to him, you know, don't let pride get in the way.
Yeah.
And at that point, I thought, well, he's already gone on this pride journey and realised he's been, but then he's back there again.
Yeah.
And then he runs off.
Yeah.
Because of his pride, and it's all of that didn't feel.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure about their relationship either. Was it really a love story between the two of them? Because there was an element of pity to her, although it did seem like she was in love with him, and it did seem like he was in love with her. But
I feel like I didn't buy into it really, especially when he was still with his wife, because there was the scene where they end up on a film set together after this photo's been taken. Yeah. She's an extra. She can dance, so she's in the scene where he's playing like a spy who's going through like a dance gala and to meet someone. And on his way through this like dance venue, he's dancing along with people, and he takes her hand and dances with her for a bit. And it's showing each cut of that where they keep screwing up. One of them laughs, and then it slowly diverges into them just looking lovingly into their eyes. I thought I liked that scene, but it came at the wrong time because we hadn't been shown that there were really issues between him and his wife enough to suggest that neither of them was happy until then.
I guess that did feel like the way in which you would show romance blossoming in one of those old films. I don't know. I don't really know what to think about the romance aspect of it. Other than, I suppose, it ended with her kind of saving him and him going back into the films. And because he couldn't really talk, supposedly, he made a musical and they danced. Yeah. And so it felt like one of those screwball kind of Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers type comedies where the love is quite shallow. Yeah. So whether it was like making a comment on that aspect, that love was quite shallow in those old films, or maybe, again, I'm thinking too much into it, I don't know. Or maybe I'm not thinking enough into it. Be interesting I would really seriously be interested to hear what other people say on this, because I haven't done any research into it other than watch the film, and we're talking about it the day after I watched it. So it'd be interesting to know if there's things that maybe we've missed, because it was a massively successful film in terms of awards. It won BAFTAs, Golden Globes, Oscars, Best Picture, Best Director, Best Writer at the BAFTAs, Best Actor across the board, I think. And it was a really good performance.
Yeah, I like the performances.
Costume design as well.
Yeah, that was amazing. All the cinematography. Yeah. Getting it to feel like a silent film of that era, like you don't question it.
I was waiting for so long to see this film.
I thought it would do something more is all.
And it didn't live up to my expectations. And it feels like the sort of film that should have lived up to my expectations, because I actually quite like silent films. Yeah. Quite like arty films, and I like the history of cinema as well. Yeah. But it just seemed something was missing, and maybe I missed something. Or maybe it was of its time, and by that I mean 2011, and we've moved past that now. 14 years away, I mean, that's a long time in film.
I wonder what it lost, what it was up against. Did it win a BAFTA?
Tiptoes? Bone Alone. It's the year of Tiptoes and Bone Alone.
How did it beat them? So it won a BAFTA, did you say, for Best Film?
It won a BAFTA for Best Film. It won Oscars for Best Film.
The Descendants with George Clooney. I've not seen that. Drive should have fucking won it.
Christ almighty.
Sorry.
Definitely.
That's pissed me off. How did it beat Drive with Ryan Gosling? Have you seen that film?
Yeah, I have seen
That's a better film than this.
That is a good film.
I love that film. The Help, not seen that. Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, that's meant to be really good.
It is, but I saw the original George Smiley with Alec Guinness at the BBC, and I just think that's better.
The Best Direction, it won against We Need to Talk About Kevin. I hate that film. That's the one that I've spoke to you about before. It traumatised me as a child. Hugo, Martin Scorsese, Drive as well, Tinker Tailor Spy.
I didn't think much of Hugo.
I can't remember much about it, to be honest, no. But Drive, come on.
I didn't even realise that Drive had been nominated, to be honest with you. But it is an interesting year in that sense. You know, The Descendants, The Artist, Drive, The Help, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy as Best Film. I mean, they're not... You know, we were speaking about One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest the other day, and the films that it was up against, and you look at some of those films in the 70s. I'll tell you, Best Actor in a Leading Role was up against Brad Pitt in Moneyball. Moneyball was a good film as well.
Yeah. So that was for the BAFTAs. For Best Picture,
I was looking at the Oscars. Yeah. So
Midnight in Paris. That's one of my mate's favourite films. He wants us to watch it, actually.
I like that. I'd be up for watching that
Warhorse.
again. Big Hemingway fan as well. Warhorse, yeah.
Lost to Warhorse.
Yeah. In what?
Best Picture.
In the Globes?
Oscars.
Oh, no, I'm not. I'm looking at the BAFTAs.
I was looking at BAFTAs before.
I'm an idiot.
Yeah, I just feel like compared to some of them other films, it annoys me that, it did a lot, but it wasn't entertaining. It wasn't an entertaining watch, really, and I feel like that should be one of the bigger considerations of if a film wins an award.
As far as films that hark back to that era as well, that have been made in recent times, I thought La La Land was better. Yeah. And I know that's controversial and lots of people don't like that film, but I actually really enjoyed it at the time. I've watched it again and I didn't enjoy it as much the second time, but when I watched it the first time, I actually really enjoyed it. Yeah. But Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone are just
they're both really brilliant,
entertaining. Yeah.
And together they have such great chemistry.
And on that bombshell, I feel like we shouldn't have found that out because it's going to determine what your score is going to be.
It might not be great anyway.
Naught.
Yeah, 0 out of 10.
Go on then. Do you want a popcorn score, or do you want me to go first?
Have you got any other show business first?
No, I think the only thing that I found was about the zoom, you know, which I thought was interesting that there wasn't a single zoom shot in the movie.
Yeah, that is cool.
It reminded me of A Star Is Born as well. That's the other thing, the way that you've got this.
So the Bradley Cooper, Lady Gaga.
That was the latest version of it, where you've got this quite famous person and a newcomer comes along, and he's sort of declining while she's on the up, and she tries to save him. Although in this, he gets saved.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, it's between 3 and 4.
It's between 2 and 3 for me, but I can't give it a 1. It's not as bad as like Bone Alone. What did I give Tiptoes? That probably got a 2. But I found Tiptoes more. That's the thing. Like I don't know if I'm rating it as how good of a film it is or how much I actually enjoyed it.
Well, I'm rating it by how good of a film it is. That's like the technical side of it, the performances, the concept. For me, that's how I do it. Yeah. But each to their own, you do.
I feel like it varies on each film, whether it's the achievements or entertainment. I think it negatively impacts it when half the film I was bored. So
then
does it matter that it did good things if I wasn't entertained?
Probably
by
not.
Doing them? So I think for me it's 2 out of 5. I don't. Okay. Yeah, I won't watch it again.
I think for me it's a 3 out of 5, but like a strong 3, I would say, because I think there was lots of nice things in it. Yeah, but I agree in the sense that I'm not in a rush to watch that again.
No.
But I am keen to know if I've missed something.
Yeah. I just feel like it could have done so much more. Lean into the psychological side of it more. Turn into a talkie and have him like it is left behind, but we're seeing a talkie and he's still a silent film star in it. That would have been so much better.
And then he turns into a werewolf and kills everybody. No, but I think that one of the things that let it down for me was that dream sequence, because it's had so much promise. Yeah. And then it just felt like it didn't live up to an idea.
It's like, here's what you could have won.
Yeah. Look at what you could have won.
Speedball. Nope. But yeah.
Well, that's that then. That's the artist. Please comment and let us know we're idiots as usual. Yeah. And
so what's that? Is that only 5 out of 10?
5 out of 10, yeah. That seems low, doesn't it? Yeah.
That's because I give it a 2. I could give it a 3, but I don't want to.
No.
So yeah, it's a very short episode.
Okay. Well, we could just keep talking and talking and talking.
Yeah.
Or we could look at it like this is a silent movie, and then we could have like a moment at the end where we're just like, bye.
Yeah. I think that's it then. The artist.
See you next time.
See you next time, guys. Cheers for watching.
Then.